Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the show tonight. This is Larry Cox, of course, and I will be joined tonight by special guest host Ellen Deal and also EFAT Walker, candidate for Commissioner of Rockdale County. We hope this is going to be a good show tonight. We welcome everybody to chime in on the chat. Ellen and I will be asking questions, and then we'll also be watching the chat. If you guys have some interesting questions, we may take some of those also. So I'm going to bring Ellen into the chat now. Ellen, nice to have you on this week from Rockdale.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
So, Ellen, I've known for a while now, and Ellen's been in the political circus here in Georgia for a few years, and we're going to really enjoy her insight, I believe. So, Ellen, thanks for agreeing to join us tonight.
You are going to enjoy my insight. It's going to be riveting.
I know it is. I know it is. So let's go ahead and bring EFAT in and let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself.
Good evening.
Good evening, EFAT.
How are you? Thank you so much for having me, Larry. Alan, I'm looking forward to the discussion with you tonight. To the Rockdale County and Conyers residents, I'm excited to be here with you tonight. My name is EFAT Walker. I am a candidate for Post 2 Commissioner. I've been here in Rockdale County since 2008. I live in the Sugar Hill subdivision. I'm a mommy of two boys. I am an accountant by trade and a nonprofit founder and executive. I'm excited to take this new journey in running for Rockdale County Post 2 Commissioner. I'm excited to tell you about myself as well as to learn a little bit about the questions that are going to be asked tonight. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to talk to you about my intentions for Rockdale County.
Yeah, that's great, EFAT, and we're glad that you're here tonight. And we're going to say hi to some of the people that have joined the show tonight. I'd like to say hi to William Campbell. Hey, Bill, nice having you here. Alex McDonald, actually former host of This Week in Rockdale when the show was called This Week in Rockdale. Al, nice to have you here tonight. We have John Harris, Lisa Lancaster, Mary Boysworth, Dan Burks, Susan Baxley, Tara Hushel is the owner of the Pampered Pup, and that's where my boy, my girl Roxy goes. Tucker Cox doesn't need a haircut; it's got short hair, so we leave that out. Good evening, Ben Garcia. Glad to have you. Ben and Cheryl both are here. Ben and Cheryl are very both active people in our community, and it doesn't surprise me to see them here watching you tonight, EFAT, seeing what they can find out about you on a little more in-depth measure. So we're going to get started off tonight, and we're going to begin with some questions here. So let me start off by asking you this first question. EFAT, a while back, we had our CFO, Rosalind Miller, was terminated. And at the time she was terminated, it was over some not handling the CARES Act funds, monies, actually not filing for them properly. And Rockdale County came within hours of missing out on the first group of monies that came from the federal government. Since then, we both commission Post 1 and Post 2 pledged that we were going to get an audit. We did not get an audit. Do you believe Rockdale County needs to do an audit since the CFO was terminated in the manner she was?
Absolutely. That's a given. You're asking an accountant about whether an audit should have taken place. An audit should always take place, especially after a transition of an executive of any type within an organization. In particular, someone handling the finances of the county. But I think audit should be a regular thing that should take place annually for the county. And not that they're not, but I believe that a forensic audit should take place.
Well, just a little follow up on it. We do have a regular audit, but it's from
Right.
this firm, and it's sort of I call it a candy audit. They're really nice to them, no hard looks, and you're aware of that. I mean, it really is. I mean, they don't really give a hard look at those books.
Right. So I can't speak to, how hard of a look they've done at the books, but I do believe that anytime we have a transition in that manner, that a very specific audit needs to take place.
Ellen, you come from corporate America. If in corporate America, if the CFO of a company would have been let go, what would have happened to the books?
Well, the new CFO would definitely want a good look at the books to see what was going on and make sure they weren't walking into any problems.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Ellen, you have the next question, I believe.
I do. We are ready. So EFAT, just very happy to have you here and wanted to ask about the Parker Road deal with the Restoration Storehouse. Do you know much about what went on with the taxes there? Basically, how did it pan out for the taxpayers of Rockdale County?
So the Parker Road deal has been a very controversial deal for taxpayers. And from my standpoint, what I have understood has taken place was that there was a deal with Restoration Storehouse, which is a highly regarded nonprofit here in Rockdale County, to utilize the space. But in that transition, what took place was we had at that location our voter registration office and a couple of other county offices were moved to another location that they were leasing, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the Parker Road facility is a facility that the county owns. So there are some concerns about that whole deal and how that went. If you're asking me directly I'll just tell you what my thoughts are on that, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm concerned about it, and I think a lot of taxpayers are also concerned about it because that's the biggest, one of the biggest, real estate that we have within the county. It's a great location for voting. It's a great location for other things. Not that it's not great for a nonprofit. I support the Head Start program that's in that building. I support Restoration Storehouse, but I think we need to look at that deal a bit more and really delve into how is it truly benefiting Rockdale, what value could be added, and really looking at what can be done and if it was done in the best interest of Rockdale County.
Very good. Wonderful. Thank you.
I think she answered that question, Ellen, and that's a question that we've asked to death on this show and in Rockdale County for the last few years, because this has been one of the most controversial moves that any board of commission could have ever done in willing and dealing away the most valuable piece of property in the county, whether it's owned by the county or a private individual, in such a manner was very controversial and did not hit well with the citizens, because the next question I'm going to ask actually follows up sort of, and it has some Parker Road implications to it. EFAT, this is have you seen the proposed budget allocation for the next SPLOST that'll be on the 22 ballot? And if so, did you notice that the courthouse was listed for $19,602,000? I have done a little bit of research and asked some folks what that 19.6 was going to be spent on, and it would be upgrading security measures and ADA compliance. And everybody in Rockdale County is very much aware that there is a need for a new courthouse in Rockdale County. And we, back when this was first proposed 4 years ago or such, we had discussed this, and at the time, some of us did an independent study, came up with some numbers. Al actually did with myself, and we were for around 20-25 mil. We could have built a really nice facility at Parker Road behind the existing building that Restoration Storehouse has. And I know with inflation and costing, I'm sure that's going up to 35 or so right now, or maybe 40. But if you look at that proposed budget for the upcoming SPLOST, with close to $20 million for renovations to the old building, $8 million for fire and 911, $5.5 million for the sheriff, and $4.5 million for God knows what we're going to do in Parks and Recreation. Second smallest landmass county in the state, have 17 or 18 parks that's ridiculous. And I do have a park question for you later on. But do you not think that we need to fix our courthouse issue and the Parker Road location be something, and this SPLOST may be out of line with what the citizens' needs are?
So let me answer this question in two parts. Number one, I think we need to eliminate improper spending in general, okay, across the board. Okay, that's number one. Number two, before I would agree to say, hey, we need to do away with this doesn't make sense, I think we need to look at every single line item, every single, I'm big on looking at how did we arrive at those numbers, okay? What proposals, what estimates did we receive to give us those numbers? And I hope it was more than one estimate from vetted companies to arrive at those numbers. I think we need to look at our spending from every single line item. How did we get these numbers? Where did we get those numbers from? I mean, I want it to be chunked out line for line for line to tell me, before saying we don't need it, why did we get this in the first place? Why is this a proposal? What made you think that this was a good proposal first before doing away with it? Okay. There's no doubt that we need a courthouse. Okay. But do we need that amount? Do we need it in that manner? Do we need it right now? I think we have to look at that and then begin to prioritize what is the best thing to do with taxpayer money first, by asking taxpayers. I think we need to involve taxpayers in the decision making. So it's one thing to elect an individual for a seat, right? We're electing them because we trust that they're going to make the best decision. But that doesn't mean we remove the taxpayer, okay, from the table of decision making. I think we need to really look at this from a holistic point of view and look at what is the best thing to do right now. So I haven't got an opportunity to delve fully into the budget. I just got the budget on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't gotten an opportunity to look at it. I did glance over it, and you know, I think we need to look at an item, and I don't mean chunked into budgets. We just need it for security. Okay, how many? How many people make up this amount? How many hours? You know, I want very specific details as to where we got those numbers from.
Well, you know, EFAT, when you talk about citizen involvement and such, there was a citizens courthouse committee that was put together by this commission, and that citizens group came back with a finding, and I went to every single public hearing that group had. Their finding was that the county did need a courthouse. Mm-hmm. Their finding was that it needed to be built at Parker Road. And their finding was that they had a dollar amount that they felt that should be spent. So you just said you'd like to see this happen. That's already happened. The citizens of Rockdale County already had a citizens group to decide these things, and the county ignored the recommendation of a citizens group that they put together themselves of Rockdale County citizens. So, I mean, as commissioner, do we keep really having to do the same thing over and over again when they've already been done? Isn't that a waste of time and resources? Because they did feed them Chick-fil-A or something every time they met. So,
so here's the thing. I believe that we need to value the input of the citizens. Okay. I believe that anytime decisions are made, okay, we have to value the input of the citizens. That's the purpose of having all these boards that we have. Do I think that it probably needs to be done again? No, I think the data that was collected, we need to revisit what was collected, okay, in that same review of the deal that was done with the county, and how did we arrive at that? So I sat on one of the citizens boards in the county, and, you know, hey, I've had the experience of not feeling like, you know, the county is really respecting the opinions and or the role of the citizens on these boards. So I think we need to do a better job of allowing these citizens boards to do what they are put in place to do. And that's to provide oversight, guidance, and recommendations. So hey, it doesn't make sense to ask people to do something, then don't let them do it. We are wasting resources. But at the same time, we're now in 2021, approaching 2022. We have to then look at the data that was already done and include the new, because there are new boards or other boards that are going to be rolling over. Okay, I think we need to review those, and we need to put that into place.
Right. So we've talked about the courthouse a lot, and there are a lot of good questions coming in on the chat. And
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you, when you're out on the campaign trail and meeting with
Mhm.
your constituents and just gaining support for you and for you to take care of this commission district, what is the number one question you get, or what's your favorite question that you get from people?
The favorite question that I get from people, wow. The favorite question that I get, actually happens to, I'll answer this. The question that comes up the most is, why are our taxes going up?
Mm,
It's always tax-based. It's always a tax-based question. And what I realize in that question is that the average citizen does not understand that there are multiple sources for the taxes that they get. Okay. That they're being taxed for property taxes from the school board versus the board of commissioners. They don't really understand that piece.
mhm,
So a part of that has been also, why don't we have more community forums outside of the commission meetings where they have the public comment section? Okay. So what I have vowed to do is make sure that we have a minimum of four open forums for the communities. That's
mhm,
something that we need to have. We don't need to continually have um, what I've seen is that the county commission is almost forced into a point of having community forums because there's a big issue that's coming up. Okay, so it almost feels forced as opposed to something that we should just have on a regular basis where
mhm,
citizens can come in and have a discussion about what's going on in their community and the needs of their community. So outside of the taxes, it's really, hey, we don't feel like we're included in the process fully.
mhm.
Yes, we have these boards. I myself sat on the board. I didn't feel included when I was sitting on the board. So, that kind of doesn't even work if I'm still not being given an opportunity to really express the needs of my community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow, that's great. And what's interesting, you were talking about, having more forums. And I think what I was hearing in that was that if people would understand more what the commissioners do, what you
Yep,
can provide for them, because a lot of it is they might come to you with a question that has nothing to do with what the Board of Commissioners do. And
absolutely.
I think that you doing your quarterly meetings or town halls are going to be fantastic for educating people and getting them on these citizen boards. And it sounds like you'll let them do a lot of work. I'm going to take one of the questions that kind of tied in and touched on one of the things in your answer, which is property taxes for seniors. So when, people age out of having kids in a public school system, or if you could make a special loophole for people like me who never had kids, can I get a special exemption on that? But how do you feel about the property taxes for seniors?
I believe that we have to make accommodations for our seniors. We have an aging population that is on a fixed income. Within that accommodation for seniors, we have a couple of different categories for seniors. Okay, we have those senior citizens that are on a fixed income. We have those senior citizens that are well-to-do, okay, and don't mind paying taxes. Okay, but for those in particular that do not have the resources, I believe we need to make an accommodation for them. I've looked at it, a couple of different models that I've seen. One is where it's based upon different age groups. Once you become a senior, whether you age completely out of paying taxes, your property taxes at all, as a complete exemption. Others are an exemption based upon income, and others have models where a senior can opt in if they want to, because then you have some people, because the argument for some, okay, begins, I'm a senior citizen, I make more than enough, I don't mind paying taxes, property taxes. So we've heard some of those, but that's not true for everyone. We have many senior citizens that are on a fixed income. I believe that we have to look at every situation separately, but there must be a standard that says when a person becomes a senior, they have an option or they're completely exempted out of paying property taxes.
I will move to Rockdale if you get that done.
There we go. So yeah, I'm going to go off script a little bit here too, Ellen, with this, because I guess some of the things people would ask in here, and it just got me thinking about some things too. EFAT, people really want to know what makes you different from the other people that are currently holding this office, especially the individual that you're actually running against right now is Dr. Doreen Williams. Now,
Absolutely.
this is, just fact. You have in the past supported Dr. Doreen Williams
I have.
when running for office. You've actually supported Commissioner Washington and Chairman Nesbitt. Okay.
I have.
Now, this is the thing about these three. Other than a few things that they've disagreed on, this commission, for a 6-year time they've been together, has agreed on everything in lockstep, including all the tax increases and all the hiding things from the citizens, not informing them, not appointing people to citizens boards. So if you're running against one of them, EFAT, you're truly running against all of them. I mean, that's just sort of the way it works. So you, a one-time supporter of this board,
Yes.
and all three of these commissioners, what made you turn from them, and how come you think you're better than Dr. Doreen Williams to hold this position? Not better as a person, but better qualified, and your policies.
Absolutely. The number one thing, number one issue that I see that we have with Rockdale County is that we have a problem with spending. We have a problem with making decisions by ourselves and in the best interest of citizens. That's not me. I have no problem with standing alone. I have no problem with doing what is in the best interest of Rockdale County citizens. I'm an accountant. No one else on that board has any type of financial background but me. I know they've been managing budgets on this county board for a couple of years now. But that's because they've been on the board, but I've been doing this for a career for many years. I hold a Master of Accounting and Financial Management degree. I work with budgets every single day and helping business owners make decisions. Unfortunately, no one on that board has a record, okay, of having a successful business in any regards, okay, and that's just fact. Even the business owner that is on the board. So let's be clear.
You would be referring to Attorney Sherry Washington as far as the business owner, correct?
Hey, whoever's a business owner on that board.
Those Yelp reviews are awful.
You will find no complaints about me and my business or any one of them. My nonprofit is licensed and has been and is a 501c3 and operates in accordance to the laws of the state of Georgia and that of the territory of the U.S. Virgin Islands and the IRS. So you will not find complaints about me and any business that I've ever been affiliated with anywhere. So that's a clear difference, okay? As far as accountability and staying on my own, I received an award from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution called the Hero of Open Government Award. No one else on that board has ever received any awards of such and probably never will because there's a problem with ethics and morality on that board. I hope that was clear.
Well, that is clear. And there are some ethics issues. And Tara asked a question that I want to throw in there since she asked it. And a lot of people have asked me this question is, why is Doreen allowed to operate Commissioner Williams, a nonprofit, and she's not licensed, and we found that out. And people are concerned about former Director Diaz operating as her campaign manager when she voted to give him severance package when he left the county. I mean, those are two hot topic issues that I think people are concerned about Commissioner Williams' ethics. And I think you've actually done a little digging, and they maybe might have been one of the reasons the citizens found out about the nonprofit being a little bit not up and up was maybe because of efforts of yourself, EFAT.
Well, I have an amazing team, and I want to thank my team for doing their due diligence on that. That was simply found out because a political post was made on a nonprofit website, which we all know is one of the number one ways to lose your 501c3 exemption. We quickly learned that there was no 501c3 in the first place.
Yep, and are we correct to assume also that Dr. Williams was getting some county money for that organization?
So what has happened is there's an amazing, and I'll say this, I think it's important to say this. There is an amazing initiative in the state of Georgia called the Stepping Up Initiative. That is an amazing initiative that has been adopted by Rockdale County. What Dr. Doreen Williams has managed to do is mask her nonprofit called Grit and Grace underneath the umbrella of the Stepping Up Initiative, okay, which is an amazing initiative that I have always supported and I will continue to support, okay. She has masked under the umbrella, the Grit and Grace, unlicensed in Rockdale County, with two of her board members, Mr. Caruthers, I believe it's Bill Caruthers, and Tanisha. Now, these people are, I'm going to assume that they're innocent in this, okay? Because the only one elected to the board to make these decisions and should have the understanding, because, okay, we're going to say this, because she is Dr. Doreen Williams. She has a doctorate in education with a focus in effective governance. So she knew better before she decided to start the nonprofit, put her two board members on there, place those two board members in front of the county commission and vote on two items, okay? Specifically that funded indirectly her nonprofit. And we pull those records. So it's a matter of public. This is nothing secret. Anyone can have access to that, where it clearly states that she voted on those items, knowing that they're her board members. She is the CFO of the nonprofit. The one board member is the COO or CEO, I can't remember, and the other is the secretary. So both are currently funded through Rockdale County, and there's another grant opportunity, $300,000 that's coming down the loophole that's being held up now. I think it's still being held by the county attorney. So we have some serious problems that need to be addressed. That has been allowed to take place, okay, with no questions from anyone. So she's pretty much fooled the entire board. The entire board. So I'm going to believe, okay, because I do not believe that the other county commissioners would have signed off on, or any judge would have signed off on something knowing that the nonprofit, number one, is not a 501c3. In Rockdale County, you are required to be a 501c3 in order to even get a $10 business license that she doesn't have, okay, in order to do business with the county that she's currently doing. So we have some serious problems. Yeah. So we have already spent almost $200,000 in combined, okay, taxpayer money under the umbrella of the Stepping Up Initiative, again, which is an amazing initiative, which I support and I will continue to support. It's not the initiative, okay? That's the issue. The issue is we have an elected official that is currently seated, that is the CFO of the nonprofit, that allowed and pretty much just ushered in her board members. So what does that do? What does that tell a taxpayer? What does that tell a properly licensed business owner in Rockdale County that went through the process, okay, that is providing similar services in Rockdale County? First of all, they were not given an opportunity to even enter the table. They weren't given an opportunity to do business. Why? Because she had already made a decision that she selected who she wanted to get those contracts from Rockdale County to service Rockdale County. That is terrible. And more people should be talking about this, because other businesses have been left out of the loophole, okay? Other businesses that did the right thing, other mental health professionals that are doing the right thing, that are paying their license fee, other nonprofits that paid their $10 $10 to be a registered nonprofit in Rockdale County to do business with the county. She completely eliminated the opportunity for other organizations to have a seat at the table, and that's wrong.
Ellen, I mean, you're not from Rockdale, but I think you're beginning to see on being on this show,
Yeah.
Rockdale County is a little bit exciting.
Rockdale speaks their minds, and I like it. I think it's wonderful that you guys are getting a lot of facts out there and a lot of truth out there. And EFAT has an obvious passion for what's going on, and it's that kind of drive and passion that definitely help you be an amazing commissioner when you get elected. I'm sure that you have plenty of thoughts on things that you want to do. Are there any initiatives that you see that are not in place right now where there's a need or a gap, an opening for something that you've been wanting to do that you could get going as soon as you're in office?
Absolutely. The first thing I want to do is make sure we have in place a stronger system of internal controls. Okay. Over the last few months, it has become abundantly clear to me that we have very loose internal controls that have allowed these types of contracts to slip through the hands of everyone in the county. Okay. It's very loose. We need to tighten our internal controls. That's number one. Number two, I want to expand workforce development initiatives through Rockdale County and make sure that we are doing the best that we can to support workforce development. We see our educational outcomes are not exactly where we would like for them to be. I would like to work closer with the school system. Okay. I would like to work closer with the city. I would like to make sure that we are working in unison, because at the end of the day, it's one county. Okay. And it's all Conyers. So I believe that we have to work together. I believe that we have to, and I need to make, as a county commissioner, every effort possible to show up at Board of Education meetings, at city council meetings, and be supportive and ask for the same, that we do a better job of planning together. Because at the end of the day, every department's outcome is a reflection on Rockdale County. Even that of the city of Conyers, that of the Department of Education, it is a reflection. When a person looks at moving to Rockdale County, they don't look and say, oh, what's that one street over there look like? They don't even know the difference between the city and the county, okay, when they're first moving here. What they know is I'm in Conyers, okay? I'm in Rockdale County. They don't know the difference until they see a sign or someone says it, okay? What they know is that we have some serious problems when we look online and we see our educational outcomes are not exactly where we want them to be. What I see is that we have some problems that we can work together. I see an opportunity for us to help, to be a help, okay? And for us to support the different agencies and the different government entities within Rockdale County to work together. I think that's where we can work together.
You know, EFAT, I'm glad to hear, you know, even though you would be running for commission and the education is, you know, the board of, but you're right. It's something that we have to commit to as a community beyond our board of education. And I'm glad to hear you say that. I've been reached out to me by a group called CPR, Concerned Parents for Rockdale. And they're going to start spearheading some initiatives in Rockdale. Their big concern is safety in the schools. I don't know if you're aware, but in the last 3 weeks now, we've had shutdowns at several schools in the county, several incidents with guns. We had an incident the other day where a drug dog was going through one of the middle schools, and they had did a soft shutdown looking for drugs. We had a shutdown at Conyers Middle School on Friday, where there were suspicious individuals on site, and then the other, you know, and a couple of incidences of guns being waved around at Salem High School in the last few weeks. So Rockdale has been on a pivotal point of a lot of violence and unsafe behavior at our schools. And these kind of things sort of get hidden, brushed under the rug, and they don't want the public to be aware of it. And folks like us and the new group CPR that has just been founded, I think will be organizations that are going to bring this to light. And it's something we all have to talk about as citizens. And further, I want to thank you for actually, even though you're running for Board of Commission, to highlight that education is something that you're going to be involved in and concerned about as a commissioner.
Absolutely. I'd like to add something to that question, to my answer, because I think it's important that that we have a real full-arm approach to what's happening in Rockdale. When I say a full-arm approach, I think we have to really be connected to the social issues that are making these incidents occur. There's something that's happening at home, okay? I'm going to advocate, okay, for the expansion of resources and support for social needs, particularly to empower our nonprofits, okay? I think it's very important that we do not, when we talk about education, when we talk about violence in the school system, I think we need to talk about what's happening, okay, in these communities, and having an outlet for families, such as the forums that I discussed, having an outlet for nonprofits to bring their resources to these forums, okay, to these community meetings where parents and children alike can speak to people that may be able to support them outside of what government can do. I think it's important for us to play a role in empowering our nonprofits, okay? I know we talked about the concerns about Parker Road, and I know that that nonprofit has every intent to do great work, right? But how do we empower our nonprofits? How do we help our citizens, our youth? We need some more programming for our youth and our senior citizens. We absolutely need more programming. We need programming and support for returning citizens, okay? For our veterans, for those that are facing homelessness, poverty, substance use and abuse barriers, as well as mental health. We have a lot of problems going on, okay? So it's one thing, we have to address the safety issue, but addressing safety issue includes, okay, looking at the social needs of those within our community and how can we support that population, okay, that needs it, because it's multiple issues. How do we support our nonprofits in making sure that the government is not so stretched with resources? Our nonprofits play a pivotal role, and it's important for us as a government to recognize that and look for opportunities to where we can support our nonprofits. And support that is not always financial. Support can simply be from some of the resources and the talent that we have within the government.
I agree with that. Ellen, do you have a question? If not, I've got something I'm going to follow.
Well, just as you're talking about supporting social needs, and that is really important. What came to mind for me was the way to support some of those social needs. Obviously, I mean, you've got the not-for-profits, you've got churches, but bringing in more businesses into Rockdale County. You bring in a business, you get some business tax money. That's what makes the world go around. Would you have any influence on being able to make Rockdale a better place for businesses to do business?
Absolutely. That's one of my pointers, is expanding and developing more relationships that support a diverse county revenue portfolio. But you do that by bringing in businesses. But here's the ticker to that, okay? We have some infrastructural needs. We have some, again, workforce development needs that impact that. Those workforce development needs impact directly our workforce and the talent base. That's why workforce development is so important to me. Okay, we want to attract new businesses, right? We want to attract new jobs, right? That actually, not just jobs that are, getting them from one job to the next job, but real livable wage jobs that actually get people in jobs that they can support their families. That requires that we invest in our workforce. We have to invest in our workforce. If we don't invest in our workforce, we're not going to get the type of, we may get businesses, but we have to be realistic about what type of businesses we will get. Okay.
Well, Ethan, I want you mentioned something, and I've got to step in here a minute. You mentioned, and Ellen, you talked about business and expanding in Rockdale, and EFAT mentioned the infrastructure. We have significant infrastructure problems in Rockdale County. We have limited sewer capacity, and the sewer capacity only goes 5 miles either direction from the interstate right around the Conyers area. And our problem, once we have any capacity added to the system, the city usually grabs it up by approving townhomes or apartments, and that capacity that could go to businesses doesn't go to businesses because they snatch it up for townhomes or apartments. And there's where I think where we don't actually have a true strategic plan for the county. They say they have, but if they had a true strategic plan, then anytime any capacity would come available, you wouldn't be snatching it up for apartments and townhomes. You would try to get some of that capacity going toward the sewage capacity toward additional business infrastructure. And that's what we don't do in Rockdale County. And I'll just tell you first thing, new apartments and townhouses, they don't bring the kind of tax revenue that a business would bring to the county. So, and that's where I think we don't have a clear cut plan when you talk between the city and the county working together. They don't work together. They've never worked together, and that's been part of the problem for Rockdale County. So, EFAT, how would you go about having the county and the city work together? What kind of plan would you have so that we don't keep wasting infrastructure opportunities when we do end up having them?
So I believe in the ask. I really do. So I cannot continue to focus on what was not done. I have to focus on what we need to get done and how we need to get it done. So again, my approach is when people look at Rockdale County, they don't see the difference between the city and the county unless you live in Rockdale County. Okay. I believe we all want better for Rockdale County. My approach is to begin to develop the relationships that are necessary, okay, to foster the trust between the county and the city. I believe that there are some efforts currently going on now, if they've not already started. I don't know what they have or have not done. I can't speak to that. But for me, my goal is to work with the city. My goal is to see if I believe that we have more than enough time in a year to be able to put and know that we both have planning calendars for the upcoming years. We have to make time, okay, to sit down at the same table so that when we're planning together. And that's from everything, from county events, city events, and making sure that we are a good reflection of Rockdale County in general. No one on the outside knows the difference. It's only us on the inside. But we need people on the outside.
And you're talking 94,000 residents roughly is what we have. 20,000 of them in the city, 74,000 residents who live in unincorporated Rockdale. And you're right. I mean, most people don't know the difference, and the majority of the decisions that are made in this county overwhelmingly favor the 20,000 over the 74. And that's just fact. And it's been that way for decades in Rockdale County. And it is time that all of it comes together. And we realize that with the population growth being majority outside of the city, the residents outside of the city are going to have to get a lot of the majority of the consideration at this point. Because if we've went past the point to where the city's not the big piece of the pie anymore. It's the county.
Right. And I think, listen, I think there's some wonderful people in the city. I think the county, I won't say the county is not, because I think it's some wonderful people in the county as well. I just think that we need to work harder to make it a priority that we work together. Okay. If there's pushback, okay, there's pushback in life. Okay. That happens. Just keep trying. That's my approach. My approach is to keep trying until we get it done, because the end goal is we want to see a better outcome for Rockdale County. We want to see a better outcome for the city of Conyers. I thoroughly enjoyed the parade this weekend. That was in the city. Then you had the lighting with the county. Okay. There's some planning going on. There's some planning going on together, right? And it comes out beautifully when we do things together.
I'm going to ask one more question, Ellen, then I'll let you jump in there. And this is something that was in the chat earlier, something I always ask when I have somebody running for commission on the show. And it's something that I get talked about in the community all the time. And it's actually something that people actually have me to try to do a lot. And that's, we talk about 5 commissioners for Rockdale County and expansion of the commission board. Because currently Rockdale County is the only county of its size in the state of Georgia that has less than 5 commissioners. And with the way the sunset law is written, no Rockdale commissioner can talk to the other commissioner about any county business if they're not in a public forum. So that limits their ability to actually discuss and plan things, supposedly. But it's amazing they were able to put together this close to $89 million SPLOST budget and didn't talk to each other. I mean, and they didn't talk to any of us. So, you know, I personally think a little bit of violating of the sunshine law goes on, but that's just some speculation. I can't, you know, say for sport, but, you know, for $89 million to have been planned and nobody to speak to each other, sounds a little fishy to me. So back to it, what do you think about 5 commissioners for Rockdale County? And would you support that?
I absolutely would support it. We've actually had this discussion before, Larry. And this is how I told you I would support it. I support it being a ballot item. And the reason that I support it being a ballot item is because I am big on the community having a say-so. I believe that it needs to be in 2 forms on the ballot, okay? Meaning the first question, should we have a 5-member board? That's question 1. Question 2, because there's debate now whether it should be at large, district, or district at large. I think that should be question 2, okay? It shouldn't all be in one question. The reason why is because they're 2 separate items. The first item is, should we go to a 5-member board? Okay, yes or no? Second is, how should that look? Meaning, should the seats be at large? Should they be district, or should they be district at large? I believe the citizens of Rockdale County should have the right to decide how they are governed.
Yeah, I agree. And then I want to make a comment. Bill Campbell says they do a lot of their secret work in executive session. And I'll be frank about this. I do have some confidants that have informed me that they do a lot of their secret talking in executive session, because part of the sunshine law is when they are in executive session, whatever is talked about in executive session stays in executive session, just similar to what happens in Vegas happens in Vegas. So executive session is similar to Las Vegas. So and the Board of Commission and the Board of Education both use executive session to talk about things that they don't want the citizens to know about. So that is how they do a lot of planning. And that's why if you have the 5 commissioners and a few commissioners that are a little bit bold and would stand up, I agree. In fact, I mean, you and I in principle do agree on the 5 commission thing, but I think this is an issue that's been talked to death for 10 years. It's been on the ballot before. Citizens have talked about it. There have been meetings and meetings and meetings. I think, again, it's one of the things we've met till it's a dead horse. The citizens have been very clear that they want this, and the legislature just needs to make it happen. We've had enough meetings and enough votes. Just make it happen, because you can only meet and vote about something so many times and be ignored about it. And that's exactly what these elected officials have done. In fact, are you aware that each of these 3 commissioners at one time supported 5 commissioners until they got elected to office? That when each of them ran their first time, they all supported 5 commissioners until they got elected and become part of the 3 commission triangle and realized they only need one person to go along with them for a stupid idea to become policy.
I wasn't aware of that. What I was aware of most recently is that 2 commissioners are opposed and the chairman is for. That is what I've been made aware of most recently. So I was not aware of anything before that, but I am aware that most recently. Okay, so have I heard this out of their mouths themselves? No. But this is what I have heard. Now, I don't want to go into, gossip, or if
Oh,
that is documented
it's not
somewhere.
gossip. That's public
Mhm.
record. When these
Got it.
Yeah, when these folks ran for office, they all supported it. But then actually, Commissioner Washington's most famous statement is, "Well, I don't think we need it now because we all get along so well."
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with the price of tea in China.
That, but
It's
that
what
you know
is
that
best
that was
for the citizens of Rockdale County.
yes. But they get along so well, so we don't need it. So, I personally think that we've talked this issue to death, and it's time for and I think the legislature is actually going to move on it. EFAT. I think we are going to have 5 commissioners when we come out of this legislative session, and it'll be in some manner. And whatever comes out, it'll be a lot better than the 3 we have. That I firmly believe that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well,
As you guys are talking about the board and the different things that they can do in executive meetings and not do in executive meetings, and there are some things that when you sit on a board, you do have to follow some rules or bylaws and do things under the umbrella of that, and a lot of it does revolve around keeping the executive committee meetings private. But I think EFAT, one of the things you've already said you're going to do with your quarterly meetings is going to be able to share a lot of those thoughts and ideas with your constituents so that they know what's going on. So any of these plans made don't come out as big surprises. Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're, I'm in business, okay? I'm in a for-profit business. I'm in a nonprofit business. They both require pre-planning. And
Mhm.
pre-planning is not at the 11th hour. Pre-planning is months ahead of time.
Right.
So there should, unless it's just some emergency that just popped up, like COVID popped up, okay? Let me use that as an example. COVID popped up on all of us, right? But what didn't pop up was the money that was going to come from COVID, okay? That didn't just pop up. We knew, if anyone was watching CNN, you knew that different jurisdictions was going to get funding. So we should have already been planning for it to come before it arrived, okay? We already knew it was coming, People in Africa and Asia knew it was coming. I mean, to Rockdale County. I mean, realistically, I'm just being facetious at this point, but everyone knew.
But Rockdale County didn't know it was coming, right, EFAT?
No, I mean, really, it's about planning, pre-planning. Okay, if we know that we're in the middle of something, we know that there's a possibility. So you even plan for the possibility, even though it may not show up. You plan for it because you know it's coming. But if you don't plan, everything is an emergency. Everything is at the 11th hour. Everything has to go into some type of, shock and awe when you don't plan. That's kind of what happens.
Mhm.
It is what happened. I mean, I actually, on this show, a few weeks before they got into that crisis, had mentioned that there was a deadline coming up about the county governments had to fill out their paperwork to make sure they didn't lose that CARES Act funds, and it had to be allocated, and they had to follow a formula. I mean, I'm not even a member of government, but was aware that there was procedures that had to be done that they knew about. They didn't apparently find out about until Thursday evening of the day they fired the CFO and had to have everything done by Monday morning. That was a little bit hairy. I mean, when that went down, it was a little scary.
Yeah, again, I think we have to do, and do I think that the county is trying to do, I think they're trying. Let me, I don't want to just, I do think that there's been some efforts made, but I still think the very fact that we have a $300,000 allocation to support an initiative on a county, budget, or not budget, but okay, shows that we're not doing our due diligence. We have to, I mean, still, we have to do our due diligence. Every single item that comes across for a vote has to be vetted before it even gets there. It has to be vetted, meaning, does it have a license? Did it go through the RFP process? How many people bid? Were the bids or the 4 bids? Is this a sole source provider? If it's a sole source provider, why is it a sole source provider? How did you arrive at this person or agency being a sole source provider? See, we have to know what we're doing. And at the end of the day, we don't. That's why we have so many problems.
Well, I mean, a lot of it has been, a few years ago, the commission said that one of our problems was we weren't paying our department heads enough money, and that's why we had the revolving door. So they immediately upped. I don't think we have a director that makes under $100,000 now a year. So they upped these salaries, immensely. But we've still had a revolving door, if you've noticed, EFAT. And one of the things that concerns me about also the revolving door of the people coming and going, they don't live in Rockdale County, the majority of them. That we have people that are making policy decisions and directing policy that they are not even impacted by. As commissioner, would you support an initiative that individuals who are department heads at least need to live in the county?
Absolutely. But see, let me tell you what the problem is. It goes back to workforce development, okay? And it goes back to our educational outcomes. We have to have qualified people in these positions, okay? If we're not, okay, that's why it's so much of it's a together thing, okay? We have to be able to pull from our own workforce. But if the talent is not within the workforce, you have no choice but to go outside of the workforce. See, that's the problem, okay? That's a part of the problem. So I had an opportunity to speak with one of the department heads before they left. So I won't mention any names, okay? Before they left, they actually had to come out to Rockdale, to my subdivision, where you guys know was a dead body outside in the bushes and the brush, because the brush had been growing for so long. So that's, another issue with dead bodies rolling around in the bushes because, we don't get our bushes cut,
Wow.
I mean, it's ridiculous, okay? It's ridiculous at this point. And that still hasn't been addressed fully. Just throw that in there, right? Another issue. But the department head that came out here that day before they found the dead body on the side of the road in the brush, I'll just keep saying that, right? Because I'm really concerned as to why we still don't know anything about that dead body that was in the brush on the side of the road off of Ebenezer Road in Rockdale County. It's ridiculous.
Right by the Circle K.
It's ridiculous, okay? I mean, it's like, come on. It becomes, it's ridiculous. But the department head said to me, just a few days before, I guess he got a job somewhere else. He says, well, I'm short-staffed in my department. That's why we haven't been able to cut your brush, okay? Because it's a county road. County's responsible for it. So found out they hadn't been there in over 6 months. So enough for a body to decay in the bushes, okay, long enough. So from that department head, he said that his department was short-staffed, okay? And he doesn't have the manpower. Next thing you know, he's gone. It wasn't 3 weeks, he's gone. So I don't know what's going on. What I do know is we have some turnover, and I do know that one of his major concerns is he can't keep people because the competition with other counties, because the pay is just not enough. And I'm telling you, this came from him, okay? This came from that staff within our county that complained that they simply were not being compensated enough. And he left, along with several of the other people in the department. So we do have a problem, and we need to address that problem. I would love to be able to have the workforce come from within Rockdale County, right? But we have to educate our county. We have to have better outcomes.
And I know who you're talking about, and that individual made close to 120 grand. So I don't think his pay was the problem.
Right.
But it wasn't enough for him to put up the headache. But this is my point about it. If I'm going to pay somebody $100,000 to $120,000 to be a department head, they can move to Rockdale County. That's my point about it.
I agree.
you
For
know,
$120,000, I'll move your dead body for you. So
that's right. Ellen would have done it herself. Well, let me ask you, one of the other things, I hear Rockdale citizens talk about this all the time is, the county, the board of commission and everything, they like to tout the parks and all that. And and that's fantastic. We got some parks, but I'll be honest. I mean, I live near some parks. They're very seldom utilized. Not a lot of people go to the parks here in the county, but we have 17, 18 parks. And they've allocated here another $4.5 million in this upcoming SPLOST for park stuff. And I really think that I think we could eliminate half the parks we have and they wouldn't be missed. And I think that a lot of the citizens are just, they're over it. Do you think that Rockdale County is too fixated, especially this board of commission, on parks? Because we hear a lot about parks.
I can't say that they're too fixated on parks. I'd like to see more programming for youth to utilize the parks. I'd like to see that we're doing something with the youth and with our seniors in those parks. So I'd like to see the line item. Okay. Again, I don't want to say I want to totally eliminate or that they're too fixated. I need to see line items specifically, because what we tend to do is group things in one line item, but it means a whole bunch of other things, right? So I want to understand what those things mean under that allocation for parks. Does it mean that we're going to put more programming for youth and senior citizens? If so, I think it's well worth it, because we just talked about the issues in the schools. We know that there's not enough things for our youth to do in this county, and that's just a fact. It's simply not. We need more things for our children.
Ethan, I've talked to some people that are on some of the SPLOST committees, and they've told me that as far as the park stuff goes, is what they think it's going to be. It's just going to be that's subsidizes M&O, that they're actually going to use that money for actually what they should be using M&O money for. It's just a money shift. You know how that has happened here for
right.
years.
Yeah.
It's a money shift.
Again, I want to see the line items and where they came up with that number from. Before I say anything on allocation and any type of funding, I'm always going to go back to where is the black and white? What is it supposed to go to? And let me see a history of it. Is this something new? Has it been going to that before? Like what's going on here?
Gotcha. Well, I think we've had a good show tonight, EFAT. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 minutes to make a final statement to the citizens. And we've had a really good audience tonight, and this is going to be shared, and people are going to watch it. So there's going to be tons of people that are going to watch this show this week. So why don't you give them a closing statement of, why they should vote for EFAT Walker?
Listen, Larry, thank you so much for having me tonight. It's been a great discussion. I truly enjoyed it. Citizens of Rockdale County, I believe that I am your best choice for Rockdale. I will work for you. I will do what is in the best interest of Rockdale County by including you in the decision-making process for Rockdale County. I will advocate for our citizens boards to be run by citizens, not just put citizens on them, but citizens that are actively involved and that will speak up on behalf of Rockdale County. I will work for you in making sure that we are enforcing accountability and transparency in Rockdale County. Nothing will go across me in Rockdale County that is not properly vetted. I'm going to work for the citizens of Rockdale County. I'm going to work with the school board, and I'm going to work with the city of Conyers in building a stronger relationship and adding to what is already being built currently by the current commissioners. I will continue the efforts, of Dr. Doreen William in advocating for mental health and advocating for diversion and reentry program. That too is a passion of mine, but also for the homeless citizens in Rockdale County. I will work hard to make sure that we have and we will expand workforce development in Rockdale County, and we will make it a priority. I will also work for and make sure that our water infrastructure is a top priority in Rockdale County. So I'll leave you with that. I want you to do your research on EFAT Walker. I want you to Google me. Okay, look at my outcomes in every area that I've ever worked. I'm easily searchable online. Again, thank you for the opportunity. I need your vote. I need you on my team. You can visit our website at www.electefat.com. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you all tonight.
Thanks, EFAT, and I appreciate it. And Ellen, it's been great to have you on the show tonight, and I hope you agree to come back and guest host at some point. It's always good to have somebody on the show that's a little smarter than you are, and that's you. So
All
I
right.
enjoyed that.
Pleasure to meet you. Great job. I think you're going to make a fantastic commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Well, Rockdale, I'll be back next week, and I'll be back and I'm probably going to beat up the Board of Education a little bit because, I like doing that. And you guys like it when I do that. So I think I'm going to talk a little trash about Terry Oates and the Board of Education next week because they do a terrible job, and I'm just going to let you know how terrible they are. So next week, that's what I'm going to do, and I want you to join in when I do that. But on December the 19th, I'm also going to have a special guest on. I'm going to have Brett Malden, who is running for Senate District 17. And if a lot of you don't know, Senate District 17 has been moved out of Rockdale County. So Rockdale County will be a single Senate district after this session. We will only be in Senate 43. Rockdale County has actually had 2 House members eliminated from serving us also. We will only have 4 House members under the redistricting. So next week, I will talk a little bit about that also. But on the 19th, I'm going to have Brett Malden, who is running for Senate 17. And I just want to introduce you guys to him. And he's a great guy. I've got to know him, and we're going to do a lot. And EFAT and Ellen, if you guys will hang in there for a minute when we get off, and we'll have a little conversation wrapping up afterward. But good night, everybody, from this week from Rockdale, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.